preview. Okay. Thing about this is it says it's starting preview, but a lot of the times it starts early.
So we're probably already live.
So we're probably already live, and they're probably just hearing a little bit of banter here. Yep, we're 15 seconds live. So,
ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Mornings with Matt. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Joey.
What's up, guys?
Today begins our masterclass intensive weekend, which we are very, very excited for. It has been quite a challenge to get through figuring out how to do this online, and now that we have figured it out, we are just beyond excited for this. And so before I talk more about the masterclass, I wanted to bring something up because I talk a lot about positivity on the show. And just yesterday, I had a big blowout fight, just like crazy blowout. And so I wanted you to know that first and foremost, of course, I am not immune to all the feelings that we're all feeling because, I mean, obviously I'm feeling it too. And the person I was fighting with was actually Joey. He's right here. And him and I just went, we didn't go to blows, but I mean, it was as close as you could go to blows
I was
verbally.
Pretty worried that I was going to get punched. Like, pretty worried.
I wouldn't punch you.
There was a little bit of a fear in the back of my head because that's never happened before. Usually we get along great.
We always get along great. And the thing is, it's a lot of times it's the people you love the most in life are the ones that end up getting like the biggest hit from you. So the reason I want to talk about it is because I also want to bring up this concept that I believe in firmly, which is bring the dark to the light. So yesterday for me was very dark. I felt like it was dark. Was it dark for you when we were in the middle of that?
Oh, 100%. Because I was like, it was one of those situations where we just weren't seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
And, like, neither one of us wanted to.
But not seeing eye to eye is different than as dark as it was. Like, that was dark.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean by that?
Yes. Yeah. It got ugly.
It got ugly. That's right.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
darkness. Like, it was just sort of nasty, and that's something where I go, okay, I'm not a fan of me and the way I'm handling this. To me, it's fine you and I don't see eye to eye. It happens a lot, actually. Like,
yeah,
you know, because I value that in human beings. I don't want you to. I told you this from day one. It bothered me when you would say yes to me too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think my exact words were, I don't want to be working with a yes man. I'm uninterested in that.
Yep.
I want someone who's going to challenge me. I want someone who's going to bring up new opinions. But the thing is, you have to do it from a place of love. Like, that's essential.
Yeah.
And so we were in this place yesterday. We're not seeing eye to eye. And it was funny because it came over just the littlest thing. It was over a dish,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And at the end of the day, I was stressed for a lot of different reasons. You were stressed for a lot of different reasons. You didn't know my backstory. I didn't know your backstory.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter who was right or wrong. It mattered that we stay true to our values and we put God in the center. So the middle of our values is we put love at the center of everything we do. And love is God. God is love. So I wasn't coming at it from a godly perspective, and I don't want to speak for you, but probably you would say the same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
by the end of that, for sure, it was just like straight heated anger. It wasn't anything but
we were literally just, I think, going through a contest of who could scream the loudest.
Oh, yeah.
At one point.
and
putting on a show for Brian too.
And the thing is you and I are very, very similar people, like in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, I think a little bit of competitiveness kicked in.
Totally.
Willingness to not be wrong, all that good stuff came together.
Which is everything I don't believe in, but
Yeah.
but and you could feel it in the moment, like you could tell that this is not good and not right and that someone needs to give, and we just didn't, you know.
Yeah.
So to give you guys an example of what was really happening here, Joey and I are just going at it, and I was so mad. I was so just full of rage, and it wasn't even for him. It wasn't toward him. It was the situation and the moment, and I don't even know where it was all coming from. And now I do when I look back on it. It was all the pent up rage and just hostility I have toward this virus.
Yeah.
Is really what it is. And I hadn't really just exploded. And I think that's good for us sometimes to just let our just raw guttural emotions come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I think we ended up doing is we both got to just like, just kind of, and unfortunately it sort of was directed at each other. But anyway, I'm so mad that Brian, God love him, he comes over and he says something to me, and he's like, "Hey, I think you should really focus on love, focus on the value." And I wanted to punch him. Like, I didn't want to punch you. I wanted to punch him. and
I was gone by this point.
And so I didn't punch him, which is good. And I just listened to that, and I let that just sit for a second. And then I said, I'm really having a hard time. And then Brian goes, "Well, then we should pray." And then that made me even madder. Because I was so mad that I didn't even want to pray, and so I said to him, I said, I need 1 minute right now, and then I think that's a great idea. And he said, okay. So I just sat there and I breathed for a second, and then Brian and I sat there and we prayed, and I prayed for probably 5 minutes, dude. And I prayed for my leadership. I prayed for me to let go of ego. I prayed for me to release. Trying to control this, because the truth is I can't control it. God's in control. And I think a lot of, I've been grinding really hard, and I realized at the end of the day, there are some things that are out of my control. And so, yes, I'm going to keep a positive mindset. Yes, I want to help as many people as possible. I want to spread love. But I also needed to acknowledge that there are certain things that are out of my control. And I think it's funny because it came down to this dish when we were fighting. There was something about that was good for me. Like, I felt like it was something within my control to try to clean the lobby, you know? So that's, I think, part of what was the stick point was this thing that maybe I could control. Now, all of a sudden, I'm feeling out of control in this area too.
Yeah.
And you had no idea that I was kind of in a rough spot yesterday mentally. I was definitely battling. So when you didn't bring it up the night before, I felt blindsided because I had no idea you were mad at me. So like that also hurts too when you don't know.
Yeah.
So I had talked to you that day. We'd interacted. So as far as I'm concerned, we're in great shape. And then I find out, oh, you've been harboring like anger toward me for a long time. And not that it was anger because you would let it go and whatnot, but you wanted to bring it up and talk about it. But the fact that I didn't even know about it again was like it brought up my shame triggers, I think. And so now all of a sudden, like I thought we were going to be talking about something positive, which is what we did this morning when we worked on, your scene. Like I wanted to help you in that way. So you were like, "Hey, I want to talk," and I was like, "Oh, I thought it was a good thing." And then when I found out it wasn't, I think it kind of hit me too.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I get through this prayer, and I mean everything was lifted. The other thing I did was I prayed for you. I prayed really heavy for you. And I think that's a principle that we can all take with us right now. If you're in one of these places where you kind of lose control and you're feeling all these feels, I believe so fully in praying for your enemy, and you're not my enemy, but in that moment you were, you know, and like in that second, you and I were the ones that were not seeing eye to eye. So I just prayed for you, and I apologize to God for the way that any interaction that I had with you that was not pretty, and I just wanted Him to bring you peace, and to find peace in your heart, and then it was crazy because like I felt so much better so quickly. So we had a pretty big blowout fight, I'd say.
Yeah.
The whole thing maybe in total, maybe a half hour or so, just to get all the out.
It was about a 2-hour ordeal between everything, like fight, then
from the beginning phone call.
Yeah, from the phone call to the end, because we started about 1:15.
That's brutal, man.
And then it was until like 3.
And the other thing, and I told you this yesterday, I was so exhausted afterward because we expelled so much energy, and I was bummed at myself. I was like, why would I waste all this energy on a fight? It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So but then afterward, literally, I felt so much better. And then you and I, we did one of the things I recommend doing, which is we just go to the most important thing. And a lot of times that's the thing you don't want to do. So we did that thing, which kind of knocked something off my shoulders immediately. And then we taught some great classes last night. Like, that was really good and engaging. And then both of us killed it this morning.
Yeah.
So it was like we needed that. You know what I mean? Like, we needed this release. And my thought was I wanted to talk about the idea of bringing dark to light, because I talk about that a lot. But I also live it.
Yeah.
So immediately being willing to be wrong, being willing to say, hey, here in this situation, here's the part that I'm wrong about, just flat out, and I'm sorry for it. And please forgive me and let's move forward. But I'm not going to try to pretend like it wasn't there and didn't happen.
Yeah.
But then dealing with it, like being willing to deal with it right in the moment, it does free you up.
Yeah. And then in this instance, the second that you did that, it made it so much easier for me to do the same thing back to you. But I had something that I was upset about that wasn't related to the dish. So then when the dish got brought up, I was like, that's not what this is about. like we're going on about something that like wasn't the core issue to me. So it was to you, it wasn't to me. We weren't talking about the thing that I wanted the apology for.
Well, and what's interesting is this is a good lesson actually for you, I believe. Because you were mad at me for something that was not you were mad at me for several things. Okay? So my philosophy is I'm not allowed to be mad at you for something that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
So if I let it go, then it's let go. If I bring it up because, hey, let's deal with it, then that's the deal. Like, that's the way my mindset works, and I believe it's good, because one thing, and you had a hard time with this. You were like, but you said that thing because you were mad. And I was like, I wasn't mad. Like, I had totally let that other thing go. Like, I had no idea you were mad. I assumed we had moved forward and it was no big deal. Like, the dish was over. But then what happened was when you called me yesterday, you listed off 3 things. The dish was the first thing.
Yeah.
So we never got to the thing you wanted to talk about. We eventually did, but we didn't spend most time there because in my mind, you laid out 3 things. So we'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
And to me, they are very much compartmentalized. So that's, I put this one in this compartment, this one in this compartment, this one in this compartment. And I don't believe if you have a relationship with somebody, I don't believe that it's okay for you to harbor anger from a month ago or 6 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if something's happened, you either forgave or you didn't, but don't move forward, and then when the person does something small, bring up the thing they did 6 months ago. Like, that's not okay with me.
No, not at all.
You have to deal with the thing that's right now, and then if you decide to forgive, you've either forgiven or you haven't. So if you're willing to forgive, which I hope that most people would be willing to, then that's pretty much where it's gotta lay. Like, I don't think it's fair to the person for you to bring up the negativity from the past that we thought we had moved forward from.
Totally.
And I think we see this in romantic relationships a lot. We see it in marriages where something will happen, maybe even something big will happen, and they'll work through the thing, and then something small happens in the future, and the person who was hurt originally, they love to go back to the thing that was the big thing.
Yep.
In order to win any argument, and they treat it like an ace in the hole type of thing. And that's something that I had to learn how to do, but I just don't believe that it's fair. I think you have to state the thing, but don't stack up 5 or 6 things and then expect me not to be upset when you're laying 4 or 5 things on me, and literally, like, I didn't even know you were mad.
Yeah.
Because give me the chance to say sorry for the first thing right away. Before getting mad about the second thing. Like, if you're mad, you're mad. If you're not, you're not. But if you let it stack up, it's just going to get worse and get worse and get worse.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason we got into this yesterday was I didn't want to fight in front of you had your son there.
Correct. Which is why we just say let's take a walk real quick.
Exactly. So that was what I took out of it. Was like even in a situation like that, you just find a way to pull the person aside and have a civil conversation. But you have to be willing to listen to their side too.
If you're willing to be civil, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that you were worried about, because you said you were feeling so fumey, so angry, that you were worried if we brought it up, it was going to ruin class and it was going to throw things off. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
So the key, and this is something again we can share with everybody here, is you have a lot of emotions going on, and most of the time it's all internal. It's your emotions. And so if somebody says something to you, or they, there's an interaction and they're not acting like themselves, it can be very easy to take it personally. And if you can allow yourself to find a way to not take it personally and be sincerely curious and say something like, hey, the way we'll use a dish example. So, hey, the way you brought that up felt disrespectful to me. Like, I would prefer not to this, whatever. And then that gives the other person the chance to save face.
Yeah.
To say, okay, well, I get that, so I'm sorry for that. Here's my perspective. If we could have been done this way, I was feeling, however, then it's a win. But if you just come in angry with the automatic, you lose,
I'm right,
you're wrong, I'm right, I'm so mad, and you need to wallow and say how sorry you are, you're not going to really get a good result from that.
No.
But the other way you probably will.
Yeah.
I always
well, because this was something I took out of it yesterday too, is if the tables were turned, you would want to speak your side.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like so strongly that you're right, you probably are, if you're feeling that strong about it. But it takes it also takes two.
It takes two, yeah. So usually there's another side to the story. And if you assume that, my philosophy, and I wrote this in the book that's coming out, the next one, is you will be served to walk into any conversation with the assumption that I'm wrong. If I can assume that I'm wrong and you might be right, if I can assume a position of I don't know 100% where you're coming from, then it saves so much heartache. Like I said, with the backstory thing, you found out later, but you didn't know all the things that were stacked against me underneath. Because A, I didn't have time to tell you about it, and B, I was dealing with it the way I deal with it on the internal, and I was trying to, love other people simultaneously, but I was soaking in a lot of information from different people and a lot of different stresses that you didn't know about. So on the surface, it looked like Matt's got the best life in the world, like he's like he has nothing to complain about, like, that type of deal.
Yeah.
So then me bringing something up feels like wow, he's out of line type of deal. But just that the thing to remember is you've never walked a mile in someone else's shoes. And by figuring that out and assuming that the other person has a backstory of some kind, and I can find a way to love them, I can figure out a way to try to get to the core. And there are, I don't know, there are also certain people that just are not good people.
Yeah.
And there are other people who are. I mean, I actually believe that. So at the end of the day, we all have this thing inside of us that's like, love is at the center. But there are people that are rude in the world. There are people who come across a certain way, especially to you, and every interaction that you have with them is not a good necessarily.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you put them in a bubble, and they're in that place, and so you kind of expect them to do that thing, and you either try to avoid them or you avoid those same conversations that make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it's not the case, so like let's take you. I think I've told you this many times. There's a side of Joey that's around most of the time that I'm so in love with. It's like it's either super fun Joey or like go get her Joey, and like there's this thing about you that can really ignite the studio, and you can ignite my energy. And I've told you that before. And I don't want to put it on you, because it's not your fault if I'm in a bad mood. I don't want you to ever feel that way. But I do want you to understand the power that you have to impact other people positively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can take me from a 10 and push me into a 12. You have that capability. And I want you to know that and get excited about it. You know, I don't want you to feel the pressure of like, oh, I've got to be on my A game or Matt's going to be mad, because that's not the case. But just the idea of like, you have a power, you know, as a man, you have a power to come in and infect a room in a good way. So having said that, when you don't do that, I don't assume you're mad at me, but I assume something's going on with you.
Yeah.
And I'd ask about it.
Yeah.
So if normally, let's say normally I would, well, again, we'll go back to the dish. We're not going to say exactly what happened, but there's a dirty dish. Let's just put it that way. So I bring up the dirty dish, and let's say I don't bring it up in a way that is consistent with the way I normally talk to you. Rather than assuming it's about you, you could assume something's going on with me on the inside.
Yeah.
Because if you look back really quick and go, did I do anything? Are we in a fight? Is there something? What? And then you go, no. Okay, probably something's going on with him, and he needs grace. He actually needs love right now, not the opposite. So rather than getting mad, and again, this is a discipline, but rather than getting mad, you might pull the person aside and say, hey, what's going on with you? You know, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about or whatever? And then the person could go, yeah, I don't know, I'm feeling whatever. I guess I'm fine. And you're okay. Well, it's weird because normally you wouldn't have asked me to do this thing in the way you did. It's like it was abnormal behavior. So I just thought maybe there's something going on with you. And are you mad at me? And then it would come out. Because then it'd be like, well, no, I'm not mad at you. Actually, if this other thing's going on, this is the truth. I should let you know about that. Sorry for the way I talked to you. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
You know, the dish was bothering, but you're not bothering me. So, you know, whatever. And that can be just such a powerful thing for you to separate you.
Yeah.
Personally.
It's much harder
from other
to do
people's
that.
emotions. Harder. Yes.
That's why it doesn't get done as often. Because it's much easier to assume it's about you.
Yeah.
And treat them as if it was about you, you know?
But you realize that even for yourself, it's hardly ever about the other person.
Oh,
you know,
very rarely.
We're all too selfish. Like, we're all in our own minds. We have our own egos going on. And so, you know, you don't really have the power to change my emotions. Like, you really don't.
Nope.
You know, you can enhance my emotions, but you know, I choose whether or not I'm going to let something affect me or not.
Yeah. And
you've even watched me do it. I mean, there have been times when I'm just like, fine. And you're like, why aren't you mad? I'm like, I'm just choosing not to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you can't let it ruin you can't let it ruin your day. You can't let it ruin what's going on when you make that choice, you know?
Exactly. And I can say that it's not personal for me. You know, this is a thing where, okay, here's the situation. But then, so yesterday, dark to light, I failed big time. Let it get personal. Let it get nasty, you know, and it wasn't pretty. But I think that the big lesson, and one of the reasons to bring it up is just because I feel better. When I bring dark to light, it automatically makes me feel better. That's number one. Number two is maybe it would help some people.
Yeah.
Because let's say it took 2 hours, like you said. By the time we got to the other side of it, you and I were both stronger. We both felt like a huge weight was lifted off our shoulders, and our legs got stronger.
100%.
So now we're able to climb faster and harder and better, and it's because we released. It's because we decided to talk it out. And I think when we harbor things for a night, or we harbor things for a week or whatever, and then you think you're going to let it go, but you haven't, it's like you're carrying this weight for too long, and it makes you tense, makes you tight, makes you upset, you know, and nobody wants to live like that.
That was the whole reason why I made sure that we had to have the conversation yesterday, because I had been carrying it. So I was like, I had to wait because, well, I told myself I had to wait because Jack was there, and then I had a rehearsal right after that, so I couldn't call you that night. And I was going to send you a text, but Brian had told me that's a bad idea. And so then I was like, okay, I won't send him a text. And then I didn't make it in the morning. So then by the time that we hit the afternoon, that was legitimately the first chance.
Right.
But that's so much longer after. Like, of course, that's going to come as a surprise, you know, because nothing had gotten mentioned yet.
Totally. And then, so then if that happens too, again, read the person. Read the person. So, okay, there was this thing that I thought I was upset about. I thought you were upset with me. I thought you were this, but that's like, you're not acting that way.
Yeah.
Was my perception of it wrong? then you might even if you bring it up, you might bring it up differently in such a way that's like, hey, it was weird, but when this came up yesterday, I was feeling this way, but I'm not feeling it from you now. So I'm curious, like, and a sincere curiosity. Like, I'm not trying to be right. I just sincerely curious. Did you mean that? Like, why did it come out this way? And I'm trying to understand my point of view on this. And that, again, not coming at it from I'm right and you're wrong, but coming at it from this is out of character. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know?
And that's literally the game changer there.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was like, I totally felt that it wasn't the same energy the next day. It wasn't a negative thing until I brought it up. So, I could have definitely framed it differently, because there was an exclamation point like in the text, so it wasn't anything from your side being carried over, because again, I could have put 2 and 2 together that you didn't know about it, because I pretty much knew that.
Right.
Because honestly, if you had known you had hurt me in that way, I do believe that you would have said sorry or said something about
100%.
it,
And you know me. I am Mr. Confrontational. Like I believe in it, because I believe it's I just know from experience now that it's less pain.
Mm-hmm.
When you bring it up right away, you're gonna be dealing with less pain. If you wait, A, it's just delayed pain, and B, you've had to carry it for this long, and C, it just gets heavier. It gets worse.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, it's like, blah. So you're right. I totally would have. And then, again, it's hard. Like the discipline of this is hard, and I failed hard yesterday. But when you can assume the other person is a loving being, and you can assume that they care about you, and the thing is not about you, it becomes so much easier to navigate the situation and to bring it up later. You know, like this is interesting. Weirdly, you could start with an apology, even if you don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
But you could apologize for not bringing it up the day before.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
go,
yeah.
hey, I should have done this, totally, whatever. It's clear you're not upset, so you probably weren't even mad at me, and I took it that way, but I just wanted you to know that I was feeling these feels.
Yeah.
It's like that opens up a whole new conversation that is like, oh, well, it's not offensive anymore. Like you're not trying to make me the bad guy.
Uh-huh.
You're trying to make me the good guy, and just going like, I don't know why I felt like you were the bad guy last night, but I assume you're the good guy. When you do that for other people, they will bend over backwards for you.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of assuming the best in people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be assumed the best of, you know. And honestly, most of the time, and again, it goes back to like there's good people, there's bad people, but most of the time, people are going to try to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
Especially if they're in your inner circle.
The people that are close to you. And then you have to understand that everybody has their own motives.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own demons and things that they're thinking about. But at the end of the day, we're all connected to God, and we're all connected to love and spirit. And so the big thing we can take away from this, if you're in this situation, pray. Go to God, go to center, go to love, go to the spirit, connect into that, and realize that you have that power inside you. You have that strength inside you. You just need to call upon it. And ideally, you call upon it before you need it. You call upon it daily. You call upon it hourly. By the minute, you are connecting into something that's stronger than you are, so that you don't have to dig there when you've gone off the deep end. And in our case, think about it. We're so lucky that we have each other and have a protective love of one another that yesterday wouldn't extend further.
Yeah.
You know, that I wouldn't hold what you said against you, and you're not holding what I said against me, or the way we said it. And we've earned that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something where,
Over time.
if you let something go like that and you go to an extreme emotion, you could lose relationships over it.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. All right, so let's get back to the masterclass. I'm very excited for this. I know Joey's in 2 scenes, which is like a huge deal.
Oh, I'll go ahead. Yeah.
And so that's going to be going on all weekend. We're going to have the masterclass live. It's online. It's a brand new format of acting, a brand new style of acting. We have essentially invented a genre which didn't exist before, and I can't tell you how big that is. Like, it's a really, really big deal. And so we're at this place. We're very excited about it. The class is today, and I guess the way I'm going to connect our our talk this morning to masterclass is you're going to see a lot of these deep talks that happen, and I'm going to connect into hopefully the human being who's putting up the character, and then try to help them find themselves in each character and play it very real. But these characters, they wouldn't be written about right now unless they were going through something, because it's the struggle that makes the story. If there is no struggle, there's nothing interesting to talk about. If we don't talk about what's on the other side of it, you know, we can't talk about what's on the other side of it without talking about how we got there. My buddy Brian Sweeney, you guys all know him. I've stolen this story a million times since he said it. Hopefully he invented it and didn't find it from somebody else. I don't know, but he said this thing to these kids. It kind of blew my mind. He was telling them, he's like, oh, I imagine this movie, and here it is. The star of the movie, he comes up to a bridge, walks across the bridge, makes it to the other side.
The end.
And that's it, right? And it's not interesting. There's nothing interesting. And the kids are like, that movie's not good. And he's like, exactly, because there was no bad guy. There was no struggle. Like, it wasn't hard. So because it was too easy, it's uninteresting. So the characters that we're going to see today, they're going to be in very heightened places. So, you know, Deering Studio has a brand. We are family friendly. You know, I think people know that we're connected to the Christian faith. And so, you know, but at the same time, we are artists, and we believe in bringing dark to light. So there is going to be, even one of your scenes, Joey, a lot of language. There's going to be language that would not be appropriate for kids. So we wouldn't ask the kids to watch at least that scene, but probably not the scenes in general.
Yeah.
But you're also going to watch people dealing with harsh situations, like a fight like you and I had yesterday, and seeing the human side of it and how you get to the other side of that. That's going to happen in the class. And so one of the things the actors need to do is they have to find a way to love their character, no matter what the character's done or what the character says. They have to understand that their character and the other people in the plays, they all have backstories. The same way we talked about you and I. We walked in with a backstory, and we didn't give each other credit for that. Instead, we made assumptions, and the assumptions made things worse. It made us talk in a certain way that we wouldn't necessarily talk like that normally.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you can do this as a human being. You can understand that each person has a backstory, has something that's very, very real for them, a way that they were raised, something that happened to them probably today that's causing them to act the way that they are. And if you're, let's say you're checking out groceries and the person's rude to you across the counter, well, you know what? Give them the benefit of the doubt. They have a backstory. Don't just get mad and think it's personal and it's about you, because it's probably not. They don't even know you.
It's selfish to think it's about you, truthfully.
Yeah.
So
going back, what does that person need? They don't need another person saying, "Hey, you're being so rude." They actually need love. They need you to combat that with love. And by doing that, you can change someone's day. You can switch the perspective. You can change the momentum from negative into positive. That's something you have a chance to do. So you're going to see a lot of that. That's going to be in the masterclass this weekend. The way the format works is the students are going to go up. They're in great Pulitzer Prize-winning plays. Now, they're not doing the whole play, just an excerpt from the play. But they'll be doing that. I'll be coaching them through it, and then they get a day on the in-between to work on the things that we coached, and then you get to see, hopefully, a better, more final product on the second day. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get to see some of the work and the grind on the first days, which is really good. You get a lot of actor training there. And then on the second day, hopefully you get to see a lot of polishing, where I can come in and, rather than doing as much coaching, a little bit more directing, which can be very fun and rewarding for both the actors and the audience. So that's what's going on this weekend. Make sure you tune in. And I think that's our show, Joey. I think this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being here this morning. I asked you to come in so we could talk about our fight.
Yeah, thanks.
It was a
for
good
having
fight,
me.
by the way.
Good fight.
Yeah.
That's always one of the things that you talk about, is always say good fight.
Yeah, it's something my wife and I do. You know, if we came up with something, like, what could we say at the end that's sort of silly, that would that kind of it's like, why would you say that? You know, so we came up with ours, which is good fight, and I brought that into the studio. So it's like, I'm yelling about this dish, and like, blah, blah, blah. And like, and at the end of the day, nobody cares about the dish. It's we weren't fighting about that really. So at the end, you just say, good fight, like, wow, you know, and it's this idea of like, hey, I've released it. You want to release it? Yeah, okay, cool. Let's move on with our lives.
Totally.
So, all right, thank you all for tuning in with Mornings with Matt. Hopefully this helped you navigate some negativity here in the future. And if you have any of this coronavirus stuff piling up on you, I recommend you release it, you talk about it. But if it happens to come out in a conversation, in a fight, an argument of some kind, maybe this would help you navigate through that and be willing to apologize, be willing to be wrong, and just acknowledge it for what it is. And that's it. We're here every morning, Mornings with Matt, 7 a.m. Tune in. Please like and subscribe our channel. We sure appreciate it.